Good.
Going.
Good. We're live. All right. So, hello everybody who is tuning in and taking the time to watch my personal vlog where I share with you my experience and my journey through my music career and also the encouragement and the insight that I find along the way. I appreciate everybody so much who tunes in and takes a watch and listens to what I have to say. I really hope that there's something that you've gotten from this period of time where I have opened up my heart and just freely shared it. Um, I wanted to just let you all know, first and foremost, that this is actually going to be the end of this vlog series that I started back at the beginning of November and coming to a close as of this episode right here. So, like I said, it has been a time where I've opened up, I've shared, I have shared my heart on the process that I've been going on with this journey and that insight. And I can definitely feel some things shifting. I feel some new creative ideas coming that are a little bit different, maybe than just an open heart share. And more music videos are going to be coming on the way as well. So I want to just put more emphasis on those. And this is just a part of the growing process. So again, I really appreciate it from everyone, but just wanted to make that clear with this video. I have a few things that I wanted to say in this last edition of my personal vlog. I strongly encourage you all to continue to keep watching. I'm actually going to play a new song at the end of this video. Just going to play the audio. So this song that I'm going to be playing is actually from a series that I have been working on since January. It's called From the Basement. And to explain what From the Basement is, it is a challenge that I've given myself to make an intentional effort to get into a creative zone throughout the week, where I go in during a designated time and I write and record and create a new song. So that process has been really good. It's really helped me just in terms of the whole becoming and embodying the music artist that I am on the journey of becoming, and who I have been and am becoming more and more as I'm growing into that. And I'm going to share one of these songs from the basement. So keep watch, listen to what I have for the rest of this vlog, and you're going to hear some new material at the end. So getting into it, what I wanted to talk about today is I want to just shed a little bit of insight on what growth can look like when you make a decision to start following God. Whether you are already following God or you haven't quite made that decision yet and you're considering making that, this is for you. For some of you out there who may be watching, I just want to make one thing very clear. I am not a preacher. I am not using this vlog as an opportunity to preach the word, as many would say, to you. All I am is a music artist, and this is just me sharing what that looks like from my human perspective. So, not trying to be anything that I am not, but I do have some things that have helped me throughout my journey and what I've applied, and perhaps they will help you as well. So, without further ado, I just wanted to get into it. And the topic that I wanted to talk about, like I said, is growing with God and what that can look like in a balanced way. So I think that there are two aspects to this that are very important, and distinguishing between the two is good to know. So I think with growth, you have to have two things in mind. You have to have a personal time, or at least this is what I've had, a personal time that you take one-on-one with God. And that can look like reading your Bible, reading a devotional, praying, but it's secluded, it's solitary, it is uninterrupted, it is just you and God. And I think that is a really important aspect to have, that I know in my walk previously, and maybe in past times of my life, I think that I don't know if I've ever had this uninterrupted, designated, intentional time that is meant to be spent with God. So for me, it happens to be in the morning. It's right when I wake up. It's the first thing I do when I start my day. I get out of bed. I might go to the bathroom, maybe brush my teeth just to kind of get my mind ready. But one of the first things I'm doing is really just pouring out to God and just letting Him know what I'm thankful for, how I'm feeling. If sometimes I wake up in the morning, I'm not exactly feeling that great, and I think it's really healthy for me to just let God know that right away and write all that out. And in the process of doing that, any negative feelings eventually turn into positive feelings because I recognize that every day is a blessing. So getting that out and just telling God that, and then going to His Word, or maybe a scheduled or routine devotional that I am getting into, is my next step. And from there, reading the Bible and then praying again. Sometimes, some mornings, if I wake up earlier than normal, I'll listen to some worship music, and then I go about my day. And that is vitally important to have. At least for me, it's been vitally important to really grow with God, because without that, you can wake up and just not really be set or positioned throughout the day, which is naturally how you're really naturally that's what you're going to go towards, perhaps, is having a foggy mind or a negative mindset, or a mindset that doesn't come from gratitude, or a misalignment of maybe your positioning with God, if you don't start your day off with that right away. So that's what's been working for me. Now the second part of it, and this is basically just as important, but the reason I'm talking about it this way is because it took time for me to recognize these two distinctions. But one vital part that has been important for me with growing with God is surrounding myself with other people who also have the same mindset, particularly growing with God. So it's extremely important to have people around you who you can talk about the Word with. You can maybe reflect off some of the things that you feel like God may be telling you. Maybe you have some decisions you want to make and you want to run some things by people. Those are all really important, and it's really important to make sure that you're making that time to be around people outside of the time that you spend with God. But the one thing that I wanted to talk about for me that has been really important is really knowing the difference between the two. So understanding that, I think for me, like a big thing for me is like affirmation and validation. Like I value it highly when people speak things to me, or they value me, or they show their appreciation to me. So that's something that's very important. And the thing is that can come from God in His Word when you're reading the Bible, and then that can also come from other people as well. And I think it's important to not get the two confused. So there are times perhaps when maybe you're not feeling like you're loved, or you're not feeling like you're enough, or you just the major like things that come from hell that challenge who you are and what you who God says you are. And I think what can happen is we can neglect going to God to be validated, and then sometimes go to our community to be validated, and trying to be fed what only God can feed us from our community. That can be, I think we can really run into some frustrating scenarios when we don't make sure that we're being affirmed by God privately behind closed doors. Now at the same time, so this is really what I think is important, has been important for me to understand. So it took me time, because I used to seek validation from other people all the time. So because I always was looking for other people's validation, I would always end up being rejected and disappointed, because other people aren't capable of validating me the way that God was. So for me, a lot of this season has been really just going to God and asking Him what He thinks of me, and then finding out in His Word and allowing that to build me up. although that is really good to have and has been really good for me and something that I'm really thankful for, to neglect and think that all of your growth needs to happen in an isolated state from other people and just with you and God, I think a lot of times you can miss a lot of the things that God really is trying to show you, because when two or three gather together in his name, that's really where he shows up. So there may be things that you can't see that literally God needs another person to help you gain the perspective that he wants you to see, which is why community is really important. So really the main reason why I wanted to talk about this is just so that we can think of these two things and the value of each of them, and why it's important to have both of them, and an understanding of when you need one and when you need the other. And ultimately it's all about just growing with God and how he can help you do that. So that's really my take on that. Something that I wanted to share, something that I've discovered. Again, I'm not a preacher. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying this is where I've been and this is what's worked for me at this point of where I'm at right now. I wanted to transition into that because from there, I think particularly we can, something that makes this actually a lot more complicated than we really think it is the idea of where social media can come into play with a lot of this stuff. So I think one area that I've noticed for myself is social media. Sometimes I can prematurely engage social media into what is meant to be my personal and quiet and growth time with God. And what does that look like, I guess? It looks like when maybe you're reading the Bible and you find something really good that you immediately feel like you need to go post it on social media. So instead of allowing God to reveal that to you and let that revelation sink in deeper by keeping it maybe between you and him and allowing him to grow that organically in you, because he might share something with you that you may never have even heard before, whether it be in the word, something that really spoke to you, and he might actually want that to sink into you and allow that to grow so that nobody can do anything to damage that. Like, that's where a lot of the major growth happens. But what I see happening and what has happened with me and what I see happening with other people is a lot of times they'll gain that, but then they'll just go throw it away into social media, whether it's posting that verse on their page and then looking for likes, and then all of a sudden, instead of God validating you through just your journey and your walk, you're going to social media and getting it from the likes and what people are saying. And all of a sudden, what was meant for God to validate you, you're now allowing other people to validate you, and you're getting that all confused. Social media is really tricky like that. And I think validation and affirmation is really tricky like that. So that's something that I've literally noticed in myself, and I see that for others, and I think that that's tough. And I'm just mentioning it because I hope that anybody who's watching this, maybe this convicts you and you think, man, like that's kind of what I do. Like, and maybe you're not seeing the results that you want to see, or things are just so fleeting. And maybe this is part of the reason why that is. So I know that it's been like that for me. With all that being said, this is how I'm moving forward from this point on. So like I said, this is going to be my last vlog that I do in this style. I've been doing them since November. We are second week of April right now, and I think this is a good time to bring this book to a close. So for me to be accountable to this in what God has been calling me to do, and for me to continue to progress in my journey, my career, most importantly, my walk with the Lord, is for me to do some things on how I utilize my social media and the platforms that I have to get what God is trying to pull out of me into the world. So one way that this has been something that's I've been thinking about doing for a long time, and what I'm going to plan on doing right now moving forward, is I'm going to spend more time on focusing on how to grow the different platforms that I'm utilizing right now for my career, which are YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, and then a variety of other platforms as well that I'm using for business purposes. And while I am doing that and trying to move and gravitate all information over to those pages so that I'm utilizing those platforms productively, I am going to be cutting back more so, and I've really already been doing this, but I'm really going to make a large move and a large shift with this, and really minimizing and shortening the personal social circle that I have and the social use of social media, if that makes any sense. So what that is going to look like is just really making my circle smaller, in terms of who I'm following and who I'm Facebook friends with, and and things like that, and how I'm utilizing YouTube. And all of this is really to what allow the growth to be real and not to be fabricated or fleeting, or utilizing social media for sense of validation. So, not sure if that makes sense, but that is really the direction that I am going moving forward. So, one thing I did want to take accountability for, and really just to summarize this whole idea, is when I have been going along in my career, you can say, when I started getting into my business career after college in 2014, it was really difficult for someone like me to tell people that my career aspirations were to be a hip hop artist. I was very insecure of what that sounded like to other people and what other people thought of, when they heard that, because I think that there was just a lot of insecurity in myself with that. And something that I really embraced as I went along with my career is really just giving a mixed message of what my intentions were. And so a lot of times when I would, get to know people and introduce myself, and they would ask me what I do, I would tell them that I have this very socially acceptable career, and that, maybe not even mention the fact that my true career aspirations were to be a hip hop artist. And I would do that as a way of covering up what I thought people might think of me if I really shared what I was truly doing. And it really looked like this. So it looked like, okay, so when I would actually want to promote the music that I was making, it just would look very mixed signally. So I would say, okay, well, I do this out of just the goodness of my heart, and this is just what I'm sharing with you out of the goodness of my heart, because I just really love to do it, and I just wanted to share it with you. And that would be a message that I would send sometimes. But then there would be other times where I'm sending a completely different message, and that message would look at me like I'm bold and going out on a limb and following my dreams, and this is really what I want to do, and you should think I'm really cool for doing this. Well, honestly, like, those are two different messages, and there's really no consistency in that, and you're really just making things as comfortable for yourself as possible instead of actually facing the fear that you haven't wanted to face and just owning your career. So that is something that hit me really hard, I think, through this process in 2020, and just recognizing that and understanding that, in a lot of ways, I've undermined myself by doing that, instead of, maybe being frustrated with relationships in my life, because it's had a major impact on relationships, honestly. And instead of being frustrated with those, I've had to own and take accountability for, well, Nate, that's kind of what you were doing. You would be like this at one point, and then you'd be like this at another point. So, all of that to say is, this is just the process that I've learned throughout that, and now is the time to just really own it, and that's what I'm trying to do. And because of that, I am going to be closing the chapter of these vlogs, working at things from a different angle creatively, minimizing my social circle, really being intentional about the relationships that I have and pouring and investing into those. And at the end of the day, still sharing my best work that I possibly can with y'all. So with all that being said, thank you for hanging with me for this video and watching my last vlog here. I really appreciate it. Like I said, at the end of this video, I am going to play the audio for a song that I wrote a few months ago in this series, From the Basement, and this song is called Said Goodbye. Take care, y'all. Peace. Gonna let my soul bleed on this one. I've been on one, yeah, searching for inspiration, search no longer. These circumstances only made me stronger. That's why I've been thinking that I'ma be a little longer. Or maybe one of these hit songs will pique your ear, and then my fear won't bother. I'm coming down, I can't predict the future. I got a vision, I ain't living super lavishly. I understand that all the travesty of social media's ways of thinking away from the majesty that's Christ. I'm trying to be just like, struggling to find my way, that's when I pick up the mic. I'll be damned if I ain't using all the gifts the Lord has given me. I won't live in fear if something different comes to capture me, nah. The enemy is active, it's why I take these toxic thoughts and I make them captive. And I'm moving, getting on the treadmill to make improvements. Let it work out at the gym, pay my bills, what I'm talking about. He built my life, I followed in the footsteps of grace, my pride I had to swallow. And I'm thankful if I go to bed and rise tomorrow. One day I know he'll come to take the pain and sorrow. Yeah, I ain't perfect but I'm giving praise. Thankful every day I get to say, one day letting go of all the lies. Enemy, we're cutting ties, peace here, this is said goodbye. Yeah, this is said goodbye. Yeah, this is said goodbye. One day letting go of all the lies. Enemy, we're cutting ties, peace here, this is said goodbye. The day is here, I understand the moment. Mind drifting, look, I had to focus. All these dreams aren't reality, they're dreams. So I'm working, giving purpose to the one so everyone could see. Look, there's a process and it's constant refinement. Living in the world responding, put my thoughts in alignment. Cause the facts are never changing while I'm slowly embracing my perspective, intersective, holding on with no confinement. Yeah, only speaking up when necessary. Touching on topics only seen through the hereditary. Different lenses, hope you see what I intended. Get offended, took a step out of my feelings, man, that's recommended. Trust me, bro, I know the real. If you tune into the flow, that's how I know you'll feel. Shout out to my brother James, I know I'll never steal. Putting in my reps, holding my end of the deal. I ain't perfect, but I'm giving praise. Thankful every day I get to say, one day letting go of all the lies. Enemy, we're cutting ties, peace here, this is said goodbye. Yeah, this is said goodbye. Yeah, this is said goodbye. One day letting go of all the lies. Enemy, we're cutting ties, peace here, this is said goodbye. The other day I had a conversation. My homie asked what's on my mind, I paused and had to brace him. It ain't every day I'm given this access, it's powerful. That's the level of protection that I've had to practice anyways. Gave him the keys and let him pick the lock. He passed them back, I kicked them out and told him shoot the rock. As of late I've been rewiring the frame, it's time to start believing what he's saying, read between the lines. The next day there was a tragedy, we lost a legend. I had to pray 8 other casualties, even the reverend had no explanation, all there was life is precious. Even that piece of encouragement didn't meet the preface. It's really heavy, so we start to cry. Have your moment when it's finished, go and dry your eyes. There ain't one of us escaping from mortality. Thank you, God, for the Mamba mentality. I ain't perfect, but I'm giving praise. Thankful every day I get to say, one day letting go of all the lies. Enemy, we're cutting ties, peace here, this is said goodbye. Yeah, this is said goodbye. Yeah, this is said goodbye. One day letting go of all the lies. Enemy, we're cutting ties, peace here, this is said goodbye. Yeah, this is said goodbye. Yeah, this is said goodbye. One day letting go of all the lies. Enemy, we're cutting ties, peace here, this is said goodbye.